Welcome back to InstaPhippsyFishing. I appreciate you guys watching my videos. Today what I wanted to do was review my top 5 performing lures or baits from the 2021 fishing season. When I say top performing, it's going to be based on the amount of fish I caught on it, the amount of bites I got, the size of fish that I caught, as well as just how fun these baits are to fish. So a little bit of personal preference comes into here as well, because the way the fish bites a lure can also make it higher up on the rankings. For example, like a topwater frog, when a fish blows up on that, it's just super exciting, so that could make the bait rank a little bit higher. If you like this style of video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and a like as well. So let's get into my top 5 baits of the year. So coming in at number 5, we actually have a two-way tie for the 5th spot between two of the Googan Squad's topwater baits. That would be the Googan Squad Blooper and the Googan Squad Hound. So you would have already seen the Blooper in a couple of my videos so far. If you notice, the front hook is different. That's because the other one was stuck in my leg. This was the bait that it happened with. The first ever lure that I've ever got hooked past the barb was this bait, and I had to cut the treble hook off. It has very nice sharp treble hooks, and 2 of those were stuck in my leg during my first tournament. So make sure you check that video out here. This is the Googan Squad Blooper, and the specific color that I like is called Nightclub. The bait is 2 3/4 of an inch long, and it's 3/8 of an ounce. I like this bait for targeting specific spots and casts. So if there's a big rock or some sort of cover you think would be holding a fish, you cast it out and just twitch your rod once. This lip kind of spits water, and as it dives under and comes back up, it makes a blooping noise, which is how it gets its name. It also has some rattles or ball bearings in there that make another noise. So you can leave it in the strike zone longer, and just, even if a fish isn't hungry, you can kind of piss it off into biting. Just twitch, bloop, and just leave it sitting there. You can do 2 or 3 twitches, bloop, 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 and that might trigger it. I use this for targeting specific spots, and if I need to fish a little bit slower, because I can just leave it sitting over the bass's head. It might be looking at it a little bit. All of a sudden I bloop, and it could trigger that reaction strike. This is a popper style bait, which there's all sorts of different brands and different sizes and stuff like that, but this is the one that I like. So the other lure tied for 5th is the Googan Squad Hound. The specific color that I like is Ghost Gill. This bait is 4 1/8 of an inch long, and it weighs a 1/2 ounce. This also has some ball bearings for additional noise. It also has a cupped lip. This is a walking style bait. So to fish it, what you do is you leave some slack in your line and you twitch your rod twice, and it slashes from side to side. It's called walking the dog. So the lure comes in kind of like a snake, just wagging its tail back and forth. So you can cover a lot more water with this bait. You can fish it a lot faster. And then you can also leave it and pause there as well. I think I got more bites and caught more fish overall on the Blooper, but I caught bigger fish and got more aggressive bites on the Hound. The Hound caught, I think, my biggest smallmouth of the season at over 3.5 pounds, and it also had a 4-pounder hooked. It was probably the best fight I had from a bass last season. It was at least a 4-pound smallmouth, and after fighting it, I lost it just at the boat before we could net it. So these guys tie at number 5. This one caught more fish, so make sure you check out those videos of the Blooper. And this one caught bigger fish and more aggressive bites. Unfortunately, I wasn't filming on the day that I caught the 3.5 pounder and lost the 4, so you might not see this one in as many videos. And these were both purchased on shopcarls.com. And coming in at number 4, we have a Rapala jerkbait. This specific one is a Rapala Shadow Wrap Deep 11. The 11 just means it's 11 centimeters long. It's a slow sinking jerkbait that dives 4 to 8 feet. And this specific color is yellow perch. So the reason this bait comes in at number 4 is as the weather got colder later in the fall, there was days that moving baits and, the stuff that had been working all summer long just wasn't catching fish. And as soon as I put this jerkbait on, it was getting bit instantly, almost every cast. There's one video that you'll see in a couple weeks where I fished for, I think, 3 or 4 hours without a single bite. I put this on and caught 12 smallmouth within about a half-hour window. It was just amazing. So when the bite got tough, I knew I could rely on this jerkbait. There is a ton of yellow perch in the river that I fish. It's probably the number 1 bait fish that predator fish feed on. It's got that little bit of orange under its chin, just like a perch would. So I mainly used this later in the fall and during colder weather, and it just never let me down. It was an awesome presentation to add to the arsenal. And when I fish this, usually just twitch with the rod tip, and that makes it also slash side to side. It has some rattles in it as well. And then you can just leave it there, and a slow sinking one just slowly sinks as you pause. Usually on the pause is when the fish will hit it. When you twitch it, that gets its attention, and then once it just sits there and it looks like it's a dying bait fish, that's when they hammer it. You can pretty much find Rapala baits in any local tackle shop. You can find them at Canadian Tire, Walmart. Shop Carl's has them as well. This specific one was actually given to me as part of a Christmas gift bundle, and it turned into a great gift. Coming in at number 3, we have the Guggen Baits Saucy Swimmer. The specific color and size that performed best for me last year was the 3.8 inch Sexy Shimmer, and it comes in a 7-pack. It is scented with Guggen Baits Slaunch sauce. So I got this bait from shopcarls.com. So a lot of times scented baits can just help the fish hold on to it longer because it makes it seem more realistic. So I use this as a trailer on spinner baits, as a trailer on chatter baits, but the specific reason why it earned the number 3 spot was just rigged on this jig head. It's just a white 1/4 ounce swim bait jig head. These are a soft plastic swim bait, so you just rig it up on there. And this caught me so many walleye. So normally when I catch walleye, I usually just use a bottom bouncer with a worm harness and a live worm on it. But with this setup, I was catching huge walleye in 3 to 5 feet of water. I've never had that happen in my life. So those videos, it'll probably be a month or 2 before they come out. They were filmed in October. But every night I was catching like 6 to 10 walleye. I caught 3 of my biggest walleye in my life. So I absolutely had a blast fishing this. And all I did was cast it out, wait for it to sink to the bottom, and then slowly reeled it in, just keeping it an inch or 2 off the bottom, just slow and steady, straight retrieve, nothing fancy to it. And the walleye just could not resist it. As a kid, my grandpa and my dad taught me how to catch walleye, and I spent most of my life fishing for walleye. I would definitely consider myself more of a bass fisherman now, but it's still nice to catch walleye occasionally, and to find a new presentation that works in shallow water to catch huge walleye was an absolute blast. So definitely earned its spot at number 3, the Saucy Swimmer. Now we're getting into the big hitters. Coming in at number 2, we have the 10,000 fish cycle bait. This is their rendition of a spinner bait. It has a bit of a different action than a regular spinner bait would. Again, this is another bait where just on tough days of fishing, it just kept on performing. Sometimes this was the only bait I could get a bite on. The specific one that I like is the 1/2 ounce Colorado blade bluegill pattern. So the Colorado blade just means that bigger style of blade. The Colorado blade is ideal for water that is stained and muddy. It just makes a slower, louder thumping noise in the water, just thump, thump, thump. Whereas a willow leaf like that is more rapid movement. It's more of a visual thing. So in clearer water, when fish are feeding on fleeing bait fish, that might work a bit better. In dirty water or cold water, this was just absolutely crushing them. I like this one as well because it seems like you can reel it a lot slower. I'm not sure if it's the Colorado blade that makes that happen or if it's the fact it's a cycle bait and not a spinner bait. It mainly worked best in shallower water, like 8 feet or less. But cast it out, let it sink, and I would just slowly reel it along the bottom. There was one day, I don't think the video is going to turn out great because I was filming it with a friend, but within about 5 casts, I caught a walleye, a pike, and a smallmouth bass. So for the cycle bait, I pretty much always put a soft plastic trailer on the back. I would either use a Saucy Swimmer, a Biospawn Exo Swim, or the new downsized Yoda worm. And also when I'm tournament fishing and I'm using a spinnerbait, I also add a trailer hook on top of the trailer. The trailer hook will add a hook almost at the end of the trailer. Sometimes they get tangled up. I think that's why people don't normally do it, but I haven't had too many issues with that happening. So the hookup ratio is just way better when using a trailer hook, because the worst part of a spinnerbait is getting short strikes where the fish bites just behind where the hook is, maybe at the tail of the trailer if you are using one. So the trailer hook just makes that hook longer and then less likely to get a short strike and miss a fish. So anytime I'm tournament fishing, I add trailer hooks to pretty much all of my single hook baits, like buzz baits, chatter baits, bladed jigs, spinner baits, anything like that. And the cycle bait is available at shopcarls.com as well. This lure may have put the most fish in the boat for me, so this could have been my top performer, but I'll explain why this next bait came in at number 1. Okay, here we are. Coming in at number 1, my favorite top performing bait of the 2021 season, the Guggen Baits Explode Toad. The specific one that I like is the Black Flash pattern. These are a 4-inch soft plastic toad, and they come in a 5-pack. I get these from shopcarls.com. So I already have quite a few videos out featuring the Explode Toad, so make sure you check those out and check out the big bass that I caught here. The reason this came in at number 1 is the amount of largemouth bass that this was able to catch. The areas that I fish are mainly known for their smallmouth. The largemouth are very few and far between, and even when they are there, they're a little bit more difficult to catch. But if you give them what they want, you can catch them. In 2021, 3/4 of the largemouth bass that I caught were caught on the Guggen Baits Explode Toad. As primarily a smallmouth fisherman, I just love the rare opportunities that I do get to catch largemouth. So this probably didn't catch me the most amount of fish, but it's just such a fun bait to fish. The blow-ups are amazing. Yes. And the fact that it catches largemouth, smallmouth, and pike just adds some different excitement to it. Another reason these came in at number 1, topping the charts, is it actually caught my second biggest largemouth of my life. I don't have a video of it because it was raining, but I'll show you some pictures here. So this largemouth was caught in my 3rd tournament. It was the only fish of the day that I caught, and it was on the Explode Toad. It was just a very, very tough day of fishing. I tried like 20 different baits and lures and could not get a bite. Put on the Explode Toad, and after hours and hours of fishing it, I finally got a bite from the second biggest largemouth of my life, a 4.78 pounder, just a gorgeous fish. It was fun to catch in a tournament. I was leading big fish for a while, but I think like a 5.5 pounder beat it or something like that. Still a super exciting fish for me to catch. And it also caught my 3rd biggest fish of my life, which I'll roll that clip right now.
Come on, one more big juicy one down the knife. Finally hooked something. I think it's a largie. Ooh, looks like a nice one too. That looks good. That could be the biggest one of the year. Oh, yeah, no, that is really good. Holy crap. This could be the 2nd biggest one I've ever caught. Ow, nice teeth, yep. Look at the mouth on him. Oh my gosh.
It's a 4.09 pound largemouth. So in 2021, the Explode Toad caught my second and third biggest largemouth of my life. There's two main ways that I rig this bait. Originally, I just used a Guggen Squad hammer hook, specifically the 4/0 size. When you order from shopcarls.com and you buy a lure, it normally tells you what's recommended to rig it, and these are what's recommended. So I really do like the Guggen Squad hammer hooks. But later in the season, I switched to these Mustad Ultra Point plastic frog hooks. I'll show you why that is, and I'll show you how I rig up these soft plastic toads. So to show you how I rig it, I'm gonna use a used Explode Toad that had the leg bitten off. That way I'm not damaging a perfectly good new one. First, I'm gonna show you how I rig it with the 4/0 hammer hook. So you're gonna take the barb and put it through the center of the Explode Toad's nose, and you're gonna put it to the bend right there, straight in to the bend. Then you're gonna push the hook point out of the bottom of the Explode Toad. You can tell the top where it says Guggen and it has this little slot for a hook there. The bottom has this long slit in it. The hook point's actually gonna come out right near the start of this slot. So you can see the hook point coming out there. All I'm gonna be doing is Texas rigging this, but for those of you who don't know what Texas rigging is, you can just keep following along. So then you're gonna push the rest of the hook through until you get to the eye of the hook. Then you're going to twist the hook to get it on this last spot here. So you're pushing up while twisting the hook. So now you've got the eye of the hook sticking out here and the hook point there. Then we're gonna put the hook point through the toad so it comes up right at the back of this. So you'll need to fold the frog a little bit and then try and make sure that the hook goes straight through. So now the hook is sticking out like that. And then you just push the hook point down so it sits in this slot. And then what I normally do to make it completely weedless is just pull the toad up a bit and bury the hook point in there. So now it's completely weedless. You can't feel the hook point at all. So you can cast this into the thickest, sloppiest grass, lily pads, anything like that. A great weedless presentation for fishing in tough spots. And then when a bass bites down on it, the hook point pops out. So wait for the bass to fully get this in their mouth and then just set the hook super hard. I have mainly switched to the Mustad plastic frog double hook. So it has a screw lock, which helps keep the bait on better. So you just stick the screw lock into the front center of its face and twist it on. And then you just want to make sure that the top of the frog is up. And you want to make sure that the twist lock is facing towards the hooks. Like sometimes it will slip around the back. But that's not good because then it can slip and it throws everything off. Up to you how far you want to twist, but I usually stop about there. Then I like to line up the hooks with the side of the bait so I know where they're going to go through. So it's about either side of this hook slot here. And again, you just want to kind of bend the frog in half and try your best to push these hooks through straight. So now you have a hook on either side of that hook slot. And then what you can do again is just pull the toad forward. And this time you can kind of use those little side ribs to bury the hook point to make it completely weedless. So again, you can't feel the barb of the hook. It's just buried gently in those ribs. And then when a fish bites down, they both pop out and it's fish on. So this is how I caught the second biggest largemouth of my life, the 4.78 pounder. And I think the 4.09 pounder was on the hammer hook. So they both work. I just like the idea of the double hook better. I think the twist lock keeps the front of the bait more secure, and the double hooks gives you a better hookup ratio in my opinion. Thanks for watching my review of my top 5 baits and lures of the 2021 season. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all of you that are watching that are subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please do. You're gonna wanna stay tuned because I still have a ton of great content coming out that was filmed in 2021. And then that'll take us to the 2022 open water season, which is still a month or two away. But my 2021 content will take us right to the 2022 season, so there shouldn't be any gaps or breaks. It'll just be non-stop fishing action on this channel, as well as a few other things mixed in. If you enjoyed this video specifically, make sure that you like it, just so I know that you like this style. Also, feel free to leave a comment below. What are some of your guys' favorite lures? And out of my top 5, which one would have been your favorite? Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for my other 2 videos this week. It's gonna be another tournament prep video on Wednesday. And then on Friday, it's gonna be my second bass tournament. And let's hope it went better than my first one, as you guys might have seen. If you haven't watched my first tournament video, make sure to check that one out here as well. And I'll see you guys on the next one.